Awesome. Good job, everybody. Today, we do have a presentation that is really hosted by our leadership here, and I'm just going to introduce them all at once. Eric Jackson, you've already seen this morning, our council president, will begin our presentation today. Then Paul Holmes, who's the lead of our design team, will be with us as well. And then Jen Anderson, who's the leader of the Open Doors appeal that she'll be announcing to all of you today as well. With your applause again, could you welcome Eric Jackson?
I warned you earlier. I don't see anybody that's left yet. That's good. This is really exciting. I'm nervous. I'm excited. We've spent 5 years really kind of boiling up to this point. I'm really honored to walk in the footsteps of the leadership of this organization for the last, I've been here for 6 years, but the congregation has had a stretch of leadership over generations that has really prepared us for this moment. The new campaign we're kicking off today is called Opening Doors. Opening doors to God, opening doors to the community, and opening doors to the world. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a history about how we got here. Paul Holmes from the design team is going to share with you the really exciting part about the architectural possibilities that we're envisioning. And then Jen Anderson is going to share with you a little more information about the financial program that we're going to have to all pull together to be able to pull this off. So again, the church council, the design team, and the capital appeal team have been very busy for the last 6 months in particular, specifically orchestrating this program, so when we come to you, we are fairly well prepared to be able to answer your questions. The history behind this, I'll go over in just a minute. Paul will talk about the needs and the solution, and Jen will inform you about how do we make it happen. So about 5 years ago, Trinity for Tomorrow was a team here that was started by my predecessor, Jolene Patterson. What the congregation was looking at that point in time was a bunch of challenges. Some of them were opportunities. Some of them were being foisted on us, if you will, by powers outside of our control. But it all involved managing the physical assets of Trinity. We have property on 3rd Street. We have the main campus here. We've got the property to the south, which the post office is on today, and obviously we have the property over on 4th Street, not to mention the drive-in at the top of the hill. So Trinity for Tomorrow was originally pulled together specifically to pull all of these pieces of information and try to see if we could create a comprehensive plan. Some of the things that were out of our control were, for example, the parking ramp project that the city put together. We wound up partnering with the city for the parking ramp along with Lowell Inn, and we wound up exchanging some properties over there that enabled us to get a hold of this little parking lot here on the northeast corner of Myrtle and 4th. That was not originally ours, even though we had been using it, so that consolidated our south campus. But that parking ramp project pulled a lot of different assets together for us. Now we're able to use that parking ramp on Sunday mornings and holidays. It's really an asset for our community. The drive-in, probably the most beloved piece of property of the congregation. What I've come to understand is that there's not a congregation in the Twin Cities that wouldn't love to have an increase in attendance on Sunday mornings during the summer. It's usually a time when there are a lot of no-shows, a lot of people are up at the cabin or whatever. We have tremendous participation up there. We were able to purchase that drive-in, but that project was not of our timing. It had changed ownership. That asset up there had changed ownership, and we were being challenged to purchase that or perhaps lose our opportunity to lease it, as we have been doing for a number of years. The U.S. Postal Service, you guys might remember this story, but we own the post office building. The Trinity congregation owns the post office building, but they had a lease with that property that allowed them to buy that property at any point in time for a far below market value. In order for us to be able to do anything on that south side of the current building, we had to be able to move them out of that property. We originally envisioned a project over here on 3rd Street, which you might remember we talked about a couple of years ago. Economic times changed. That project is now being envisioned over here on 4th Street. That's what we're going to have a special congregational meeting about in 2 weeks. And then back over to 4th Street, the Croy Center, of course, has moved from being, it's still an asset, but it's become a little bit of an eyesore. The city's very, very excited about us refurbing that property over there, getting the post office in there with all the parking that's available. So the Croy Center property is part of the new projects that are envisioned here. And all of this was put together as a result of work done by the Space Study and Design team, who had taken a look at our current assets, understood our change in ministry between the time these assets were acquired and today and looking forward, and tried to help us design plans that Paul will talk about in more detail. So this was all been worked through the Trinity for Tomorrow team for the last 5 years. Paul, is this still me? Or is this you? Okay. How many people were here at the last time we had a big expansion of this facility? How many people in this room were present? It's been a big, big change. So maybe a few dozen people in this room. There were a few more at the first service this morning. That was the last major expansion of this facility, and it envisioned at that time that we'd be doing more. The building was prepared for more. The property acquisitions since then prepared us for more. The only problem that we have is it's been 30 years since we've contemplated this. So I know this is kind of new thinking for everybody, but we've been talking about this for some time, so I hope you'll get on board and be excited about it. Again, this building is unfinished. There's a lot of spaces in this building that were meant for purposes which are no longer really very beneficial. And there's also connectivity to this building that hasn't been completed, but it was envisioned by the former leadership. And the ministry of this place has changed significantly. As we touch the world, as we touch the valley, as we touch our community, the opportunity to interact with people of different backgrounds and to make a difference in the world forces us to think about how to use this launching pad in a different way. That's right, I do this quiz, don't I? Okay, we're going to do a little fun thing here. So, which entrance is Trinity's front door? Main entrance. I'll give you some choices. Door number 5, over here on 4th Street. How many people think that's the main entrance? Okay, about the same as last time. Door 4? How many people use door 4? I see one hand. How about the 4th Street doors? A lot of people come in the 4th Street doors. Door number 3, which I'm still not sure I know where it is, but apparently it's a door that opens into the building somewhere. Anybody use door 3? Unless they have to. The official answer is door 5. There's actually a sign out there that says main entrance, okay? But the unofficial answer is all of the above. Part of this project is about solidifying a main entrance to the campus, to the building, so that we're more visible to the community and so that people have a focal point. Question number 2, what is the first thing you are met by when you come in the main doors? Well, if you chose 4th Street or the official door, it's a ramp. Door number 3, or question number 3. I got doors on my mind, opening doors, you know, it's. On Wednesday nights, where do confirmation groups meet? Everywhere. Okay, but let me take you through the exercise, okay? In the gym, in the worship center for the entire time, in the worship center and then rooms where they can have a small group time, or in the worship center and then they split out into every nook and cranny they can find for their small group time. D. Everybody knows that. Because in addition to confirmation on Wednesday nights, we also have Wednesday learning for pre-K through 6th. We have the river worship for the senior high. This also causes us to have to stagger the start times for all of this activity on Wednesday night. So depending upon the age of your kids, you may have to be here or somebody present dropping kids off and picking kids up from 6 to 8:30 in the evening. Similarly, where do parents of youth meet on Wednesday nights while their children are learning? In the parking lot? In the adult learning areas? That's a trick question. At a local establishment not to be named while they are waiting for their children? Or they go home and they come back because there's nowhere to wait at church? It's really everything except for the adult learning areas. There are no designated adult learning areas on Wednesday night for a community of adults to get together and go have classes or just for time of community and fellowship. Where do we gather on Sunday mornings for community? In the gathering space towards 4th Street? How many people move over there? You do? That's great. In the narthex, back out here, how many people hang out in the narthex? Nobody hangs out. How about the parking lot? Yeah, in the nice weather. Or they go home because it's easier than trying to figure out where to meet. The answer is really all of the above. Part of the problem that this layout currently has, and because of how many people are here, is there's not a really good way to make that flow stick so that people are comfortable staying around on Sunday mornings after worship service to build community with each other. And the last question, when you or somebody new to Trinity enters our doors, do they feel they are entering a warm, open, transparent, and welcoming environment? Well, if you can find the door, we hope so. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name's Paul Holmes. My wife and I and our 3 children have come to church here for the last 6 years and love Trinity. And I'm privileged to be part of a design team that's worked together for the last year, and I don't want to miss any names as I go through it. But Matt McGuire, Jody Thone, Jim Bradshaw, Jolene Patterson, Spike Carlson, Dave Swagger, Kelsey Reinke, and Dan Poppenberger and myself have been working along with HGA, Hamel Green and Abrahamson Architects, to come up with a master planning concept for an expansion to this church that meets the needs of a growing and changing community that we have here at Trinity. The needs that have been expressed are first to solve some of this entry confusion so that we have a visible, easily accessible front door that works in particular for those who have disabilities or for our seniors so they have an easier time getting to and from church. Secondly, to provide spaces for Wednesday night. For children's learning, we have twice as many children here on Wednesday night as we do on Sunday morning. And on top of that, we have confirmation going on and the river worship for high schoolers and choir practice. I mean, it is a zoo here on Wednesday night. I'm a confirmation leader, and literally every nook and cranny is used. And nooks and crannies aren't bad, particularly for 13-year-old boys who would rather sit there than in small rooms. We just need more nooks, more crannies, because we've got plenty of 13-year-old boys. And for Wednesday night, the other thing is adult learning spaces. We have an opportunity to have adult learning programs on Wednesday night because about a third of the kids who are involved in confirmation, their family is not involved in Trinity in any other way. And there's an opportunity there to perhaps engage those parents in fellowship and meaningful discussion. And we need space that allows that. Accessibility, we've talked about. We want to make sure that we not only provide code-compliant accessibility, but also we provide common sense accessibility so that as a senior arrives on our 4th Street side, they're not confronted by this very, very long ramp and then have to get back up it to get out to their car, which is across the street and across the way on a slippery winter day. And then community, and community in 2 ways. First, community in the sense that many of us experience it in the summer at the drive-in. We have an opportunity to stand around together after communion in the sunshine and talk. And it's wonderful. And nobody is sort of brushing by us. We don't feel crowded or in the way. And there's an opportunity there that doesn't exist here now. And we want to make sure that we're providing gathering space, fellowship space with much more natural light, much more connection to the river and the town and the valley. So there is a place that draws you in, that's a magnet that says, come and relax and talk and gather. And secondly, with regard to community, we want to make sure that we are expressing who Trinity is to the community. We want to make sure that our architecture matches what's going on here. And this is a church that's incredibly vital, where people are engaged in the world, that people are warm, are welcoming, are transparent, and yet our building right now does not send those messages. Our building is rather closed. Our entries are hard to find. And once inside, there's not a great deal of natural light or connection with the community. We really want the architecture to match the spirit that's in all of you here. So these are the needs that this first phase of the project is meant to address. And the work really began with Hamel Green and Abrahamson having a series of conversations with ministry leaders here at Trinity to define the amount of square footage that's needed. The building we're sitting in this morning is about 55,000 square feet altogether, but about only 40,000 square feet of that is usable space. The rest is circulation, corridors, mechanical spaces, restrooms, the thickness of walls. So we have about 40,000 feet that's really usable. And when HGA came back from their study after talking to ministry leaders, their first feedback to us was that we need 70,000 feet of usable space, which would have been a huge project, a project that the leadership here really didn't believe was realistic. And so we began looking at the assumptions that underlay the needs analysis and pushed back hard on one in particular, and that is a traditional church programming model that links meeting space to attendance on Sunday morning. And the model had been built on the assumption that we would have 3 full services on Sunday morning, packed, and that we would need all these accessory spaces as a result. And it didn't adequately account for the way the ministry has changed. It didn't adequately account for the fact that we do have people engaged with us on Wednesday night that aren't here any other time. And it also had built little rooms, 8 by 10 rooms, theoretically, for all these confirmation groups and Sunday school groups that would be here at the same time. And we pushed back on that as well and said, wait, kids really do respond better in a nook, in a cranny, at the top of a stair landing, in a closet, than they might in a room with a door. And that had a real strong effect on the amount of square footage that we need. And so the bottom line number here in terms of square footage that we need to add to this building is about 21,000 square feet of expressed need. And the concept plan that I'm about to show you takes care of about 17,000 square feet of it. So this project does most of the heavy lifting for the future in terms of spaces that we will need. Our belief and our hope is that that additional 4,400 square feet can be found by restructuring and reorganizing space that we have rather than building again. The existing site, as Eric said, and many of you already know I know, is that we own the post office on the corner now. By way of orientation, here's Myrtle, 3rd Street, 4th Street. Here's the parking ramp the city just built. You'll notice that the post office parcel is the same size as the church parcel. There's a lot of land there, and there's a real opportunity. And the leaders in this church, when the last expansion happened in the 70s, were visionary in that as they made the decision to put roots down and keep our roots down in the center of Stillwater, they began to acquire property around us, or the rights to property around us. And it's that legacy, that wise legacy, that gives us the opportunity to expand now in a way that adapts to the changing ministries that folks in the 70s might not have foreseen, but they opened the door for it to happen, and there was a lot of wisdom in their work. The exterior design that we are proposing, or not so much the exterior design, but the concept that we're proposing at this point, is to remove the post office building and put up a 17,000 square foot 2-story addition to the existing building that will connect right at the bottom of the ramp where you come in today off the 4th Street side, which many of you believe misleadingly is the main entry. It would create a new drop-off off 3rd Street and a new main entry that is positioned so that folks who use the ramp can find that entry easily, but more importantly, it's positioned so that folks coming up Myrtle from downtown have no question about where the front door of Trinity is. We would also create some outdoor space that could be accessed from lower level meeting rooms, a bit of a pocket park or a patio space there. And then the 4th Street entry would stay active, perhaps in the same location it is today, or perhaps it would slide a little bit down toward Myrtle to give us some elevation assistance. This is the lower level floor plan of the addition. The new entry vestibule, a set of stairs just as you come in that would take you up to the worship level. The 2nd floor of the addition would time out with the floor level in our narthex and our gathering area. An elevator so that those with disabilities can get up to that level easily and without having to spend or move far to find that elevator, a set of restrooms, and then an array of adult meeting spaces, small, medium, and large meeting spaces. The small spaces can seat 10 to 15 people, the medium spaces 15 to 25, and then those large spaces, 20 to 40 people in each of the larger multi-purpose spaces. So those can be rooms where seminars happen, they can be rooms where adult learning opportunities are, or they can be rooms where things like Pilates and yoga and things that are happening here now in church but that don't really have a space home can happen in a much more purposeful and efficient and effective way. The connection between the new and existing space on the lower level would happen just east of the present nursery. There's mechanical and electrical space there. Those utilities would be relocated. The space would be open so we can have a passage, perhaps 6 feet, 7 feet, through that area into the existing corridor. In the future, that nursery might be relocated and this could be opened more. But a first phase project would provide just that circulation path through. Those of you who have been here a long time and may have been involved in the project in the 70s know that our electrical service and our gas service come in right there. And so those utilities need to be moved in order to make this addition happen. The upstairs space, the stair arrival at the top, the elevator, a gathering area. This is all glass, looking out over downtown and over the river. So lots of natural light in that space, a very appealing space that will draw you in and invite you to stay. A terrace with doors so folks can get outside for a breath of fresh air and a conversation, cup of coffee. Meeting space. And then most of what happens on the second floor is what is being called thus far the river room. It's a large, multi-purpose space that can be used on Wednesday nights for the opening of confirmation. It can be used for river worship. It can be set up in a variety of ways. It can be used for small theater performances, for recitals, for small concerts, for art openings. With the tables and chairs cleared aside, it could be a venue where we could pack food as a congregation for Feed My Starving Children. So it is a wonderfully versatile space that gives us the opportunity not to have to double up in the worship center, particularly on Wednesday night when we're having to stage the start of all these large events. The river room also has the ability to get on-grade access off 4th Street, so we can bring large elements, whether they be pallets of food or grand pianos, into that entry and then be right at the narthex level coming in. The connection between the two is made at the bottom of what is today the ramp, which is right there. And this whole area, from this column to this column, is all ramp today. The concept is that in order to provide an opportunity to make a physical connection, we'll remove the ramp and replace it with 2 flights, about 4 risers each, in order to make that transition down. Our hope is that we can find a way to retain a ramp from that entry in another location, but we think to be able to come in and land quickly at the bottom of that area so that you'd be at the floor level of our gathering space now opens up that commons area so that we avoid the kind of conflict between services now where you step out of these doors and there's somebody else coming right down the ramp for you and you have to get out of the way. So we would come into a much more open gathering space that would then be connected through an opening that's about 16 feet wide to this new gathering space and access to the river room. The exterior design is a more modern architectural expression, and it's that purposefully. Many times in church architecture, as you do an expansion, you set out to complete the building. Do it in a way that looks seamless. Do it in a way that looks like it was intended to be that from the start. This isn't like that. We really hope and we really asked for a design that would work with what we have today, but would send different messages about what Trinity is and what you might expect in a church. The messages that we hope are sent by the architecture matches what you all send every day to the community and to one another, and that is that this is an open, welcoming, exciting place where people are engaged in the world and with one another. And we want the architecture to be transparent and exciting and welcoming. We have gone to the Historic Preservation Committee in town with the idea of a more modern architectural expression, and they are supportive. We need to go back through the formal process, but they believe it's perfectly appropriate in a historic district to not to try to mimic historic architecture, but instead to begin a new architectural vocabulary that really enriches the texture of the town. And so we hope to be a part of that. The materials that would be used are economical but durable materials. We're not only have a first cost involved here, but we have legacy costs with that we're leaving to those who will come after us and look back 20 years from now and say, I wish I didn't have to paint that every 3 years. So we really want to do something that, that lasts long term. We're talking about brick and masonry and metal panel and glass in order to do this well. This is a close-up of the area. You can see the handicap parking, the brick flying through, and a brick fin that would come right into the building, and then metal panel and glass and brick around the side of the river room. This is a view of the lower level entry area, the vestibule as you come in, the meeting space beyond, glass looking out at Myrtle to the south, and then this would be the entry into that adult meeting room cluster. And in the midst of that cluster of meeting rooms, there is this gathering space, this informal space. This is a view of that area where there would be a coffee pot and some comfortable furniture, and adults could be engaged with one another before and after meetings. So it functions as pre-function space. This is the upper level gathering area, and you can see the visual connection, the opportunity we have to really be connected more with downtown and with the river, the terrace outside, the doorways into the river room. There, again, transparency to the south, and the all-important coffee in the middle of it. Stair at the top. The river room can be set up formally. It'll seat about 150 people in rows of chairs, or it can be set up informally for small groups and for other uses. And then this is the way that the commons can look if we remove the ramp, when we remove the ramp. We have 2 flights of stairs with a broad intermediate landing to try to make that traverse as easy as it can be. A large open area at the bottom, and then about a 16-foot wide opening into the new gathering space. So we believe that the concept design does address the needs that have been expressed. It gives us this new front door, this new visible entry. It gives us spaces to use on Wednesday night, more nooks and crannies for groups, and adult learning space that really can let us engage with folks that we're not able to engage with now, and to be together in a way that we're not able to. It solves our accessibility issues and helps us to enrich ourselves as a community and to reach out to the community too. So what does this cost? We have engaged Adolphson and Peterson in an unofficial way. They very graciously agreed to work with us without their being selected to do anything beyond this, to help us price the concept. Adolphson and Peterson, as you may know, are a large contractor in town in the Twin Cities. They've been here a long time, and they're familiar with Stillwater, having built the parking ramp, the library, bout wells. They have a history here. So they went through the concept and did a very careful estimate. And the result is that we believe the new construction cost on that 17,000 square foot 2-story addition is between $3.75 and $4 million. And then that the remodeling costs, the professional fees, the financing costs, furniture, fixtures, equipment, sound, light, will cost another $750,000 to $1 million. So we're talking about an overall project cost of between $4 million and $5.5 million. This is not a small project. This is as I said, the sort of heavy lifting piece that we can do now. And projects that would follow this in the future that may, say, open the area between the church and the narthex or remodel a space can be taken in small bites. But this piece isn't a small bite. This is more major. And this is the time to do it, and it's an exciting time. With that, I'll hand off to Jen Anderson, who's going to talk about how do we make this happen.
Hi, I'm Jen Anderson, and over the course of the last 6 months, I've had the privilege to be part of a team of people that has been working with the council and the design team to really put together a program or a process to facilitate the communication and the funding of this project, this beautiful project that Paul just walked us through. So how do we make this happen? The first thing was really putting together a project plan, which was really the culmination of that work was this official launch today, which we've called now Opening Doors, and it's the Opening Doors Appeal. Secondly, about what we can do is we can engage all of you in the congregation, and that's really the most important thing, because this is for and about all of us. And the third thing is to stay in communication and understand what's happening out there, and have an ability to ask questions and interact with your fellow community members here, and make sure you understand and have the answers to your questions that you need to be able to make the decisions that we're asking you to make. So the appeal itself is for $4 million. It's essentially the setting of the $4 million capital appeal is for the new construction costs. Paul indicated that amount is an additional up to $1 million to cover some additional items, but we've set the appeal at $4 million. We're asking for pledges of that amount this year to be paid out over the next 3 years. The participation that we're asking for from all of you is really just I guess just center first and just pray about it. Pray about it with yourself, with your partner, with your spouse, with your family, with your teams that you interact with here at Trinity on a regular basis. And then secondly, become engaged in the process. And one of the key components of engagement is asking questions and really and getting to the answers and understanding how the design, this beautiful design that Paul and his team has come up with, really helps us deliver against our mission in the community, and really assesses the needs that we have right now today and is able to act on them. So becoming engaged in the process. And then decide after that, and some consideration, to give as you're inspired to do, and also as you're able. We have asked for $30,000 leadership pledges, and we've also asked of more than that from some people who are able to do that, and they have been able to. But you really need to just figure out what works for you, and then make your decision. Pastor Dan has said that we'd love to sit down and have a chat. He's talked to some people in the congregation, and I think he's really willing to sit down and answer questions and work with you to understand what might make sense for you and your family. So he's available to you as well. Communication is the last component of this, and communication is really important in terms of understanding what's coming down the line. This process is going to be over the next couple months, and the first is this launch this weekend. On the 24th, or the week of the 24th, you're going to be receiving a brochure, which is going to provide you some additional information and answer some of your questions. And then the design team is going to host an open house on November 5th and 6th after the services, and there will be storyboards and people there to walk you through what the new facility looks like, which is going to be really exciting. And then we're going to bring this all to the end on December 3rd and 4th, where we're asking for everyone to bring their pledges on that weekend, and we'll celebrate and be excited about the thing that we've accomplished together. From a communication standpoint, you will receive regular emails with some videos. The videos will be fun, they'll be informative, and they'll let you know what's happening along the way. And then we also have set up a website that's going to launch tomorrow, and that website will be a part of the Trinity website, but with its own link. And you don't want me to explain anything more technically than that. That's basically, you'll be able to get to it. And so look for more information there, more pictures and more just, cool stuff that'll help you out with this whole process. And then every Saturday and Sunday for services, the council members, the design team members, and the capital appeal team members will be wearing little name tags. So, if you want to catch us in the hallway or want to just have a chat, then please, we're here for you. So to end and in closure, thank you. Thank you for letting us take the service time to have this conversation with you. We think it's important, and we really want you to join all of us together to support our mission and be able to open doors to God, to the community, and to the world. So thank you very much.
One of the things I talk to my peers about is how blessed and lucky I feel that we have such phenomenal leadership here in this congregation. And the three that you've just interacted with now are just but a representative of about a group of 30 people that are in existence in leadership right now that have been working on this for a long time. But also there's just, as was pointed out, there's been a long legacy. Many of you have been included in the leadership of this place for a long time. So once again, with your applause, would you just thank Eric and Paul and Jen?